Yeah, we're in the process right now of preparing the traffic study, which tells us what the existing or the prior use generated versus what this use will generate. You know, generally speaking, residential, in the big scheme of things, has a relatively modest trip generation rate, especially compared to commercial. But since we do want to make sure we activate the street and we have 17,000 square feet of commercial, that will create some trips. So we will evaluate and we will understand, and the Department of Transportation is the one that actually sort of provides the parameters of the traffic study. You know, where the trips go, how they're distributed, how many credits we get for the previous use, all that kind of stuff, and the list of.
I would assume, though, that there would be some parity between what existed on a service level on that property prior to this and what would be coming and going on a residential basis.
I think, generally speaking, because of the nature of the project with the retail and restaurants, we're going to exceed the previous use, but there's definitely credits that come from that previous use, absolutely. It's just a question right now that's in the process of actually being calculated with the Department of Transportation.
One more resource I recommend you tap into is we have a regional collaborative based out of UCLA called LARC, L-A-R-C, and I recommend you contact Kristen. She works with county and city policymakers and nonprofits, and she's looking to build relationships with businesses, and they have resources, because to Jeff's point, this stuff being siloed is just wreaking havoc countywide. And what she can do is kind of help facilitate ending some of the siloed and connecting some of the dots on her level based around the sustainable community strategy.
Kristen or Christian?
Krista, K-R-I-S-T-A. And it's, I don't remember the full name, but it's LARC, L-A-R-C is the acronym.
Okay, I have one comment. Can we go back to the rendering from the corner of Van Nuys and Oxnard? You were talking about the emphasis of sort of being a landmark as far as sort of the gateway to Van Nuys, and it seems like the attention is going toward the 6001 as far as the the attention, and maybe sort of accentuated and being much more of a landmark as far as.
Do something more on the corner?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some buildings, they have some accentuate the corner, as an introduction or sort of a architectural element that brings attention. That's.
Hollywood and Highland is a perfect example of corner architecture and what they've established there. I mean, that's a frontage that's really iconic.
Are you talking about the Nokia, or are you talking?
No, I'm talking about actually the corner of Hollywood and Highland.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that
is it the northeast corner?
It is the northwest corner.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about that bridge facade? Well, that's frosting on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be any negative response if that were the case to greater height on that corner? It wouldn't necessarily be occupied space.
I mean, to tell you the truth, I would think you would want to bring more attention toward Van Nuys than toward the back of Vesper, just to limit the amount of impact, as far as the height goes on the backside, and more, maybe the Van Nuys side would be more higher.
Yeah, we're somewhat limited by, as you know, fire code.
Sure.
But we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, and just to inform everybody, what's going on in Van Nuys is only minuscule of what's going on right now as far as what North Hollywood is dealing with, because the amount of projects that is going on right now is enormous. Somebody's telling me that almost each project has 1,000 units on one project.
Nah.
But there's multiple. Oh, well,
But there are a lot of problems.
yeah, there is
Yeah.
a lot of, and there's a lot of tension,
A
so.
lot
I mean,
of density, and it's
Right,
too
exactly.
dense already, and I think
Traffic
those
is
small lot homes
impassable
would
no matter where
bring,
you go.
I think the small lot homes would bring more of a community feel than another huge apartment building that just,
Well, then the next presenter will make you happy.
bring them on, bring them on.
Were you involved with some of the Warner Center projects?
Yes,
Which ones, I guess,
most of them.
most of them? And so I guess,
There you
Yeah.
go.
Warner Center, you know, if people want to talk to someone, see something that has boomed the last several years, you want to look at Warner Center.
Well, and some of them are good and some of them aren't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or aren't as good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
that's
it's,
the problem.
and like I said, I mean, LA is changing as far as, I mean, it's not what it was like, 10, 20 years ago, and like, I mean, I don't know if anybody mentioned, but the city is required to add 100,000 units to the city.
Yep.
And that's, and the question is, where does it go? Because, I mean, if we can't do it somewhere, then where does it go? I mean, as far as, and that's the question we're gonna have to tackle with, as far as, the issue.
Housing is a premium,
Yeah,
plain and simple.
yeah, and in order to reduce it, you have to provide more housing, and that's something to address as far as, the dilemma that, with all the climate and climate change laws and, environmental and sort of quality of life, that's, everything is coming ahead, and plus people are having babies and, population's growing, so, there's a lot of things that are just mind-blowing as far as, how does it impact us the most, and, and it's not gonna be easy, and it's not gonna be like a cakewalk like it has been in the past.
There's no Band-Aid solutions.
Yeah, so, I
But
mean,
let's get it right this time. Instead of just cramming units in, let's make it right for the community. Because I don't think it's been right. I think it's crammed full of apartments. The homeowners have lost their parking, and we really need to think about them. Their parking is going to be greatly impacted from these units.
Well,
Speaking of which, there is already existing parking problem because of the cornerstone thing.
I
we listen to all the
understand.
time.
we know.
I understand.
yeah, we're addressing it as well.
Yes, I mean, I think the problem, which no one here has the answer to, is that LA does not have the existing transportation infrastructure to support any of this stuff. So it all sounds great, but it doesn't work because the underlying infrastructure is not there.
Yeah, it's not there,
And
but,
that's why the leadership of this city
Let's
is
get the
negligent,
next people.
and that's why we're in this position. We're all butting
Rockford
heads with
was
each
there 50 years
other.
ago.
That's why.
What are the others?
okay, thanks, Brad.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay, next item is 6B, 14700 Sherman Way. It's a small lot subdivision. It's a proposal for a gated residential sublot subdivision community consisting of 57 detached single-family homes with large rear backyards and private park with a tot lot. The developer is pursuing a community feedback and support.
You have to make an amendment on that.
There's no case number.
Okay, they have 58 on there. It says 58 units on there. Yeah, 57.
Okay. You'll explain it, but we'll have Angie Yee from Storm Properties to present.
So I'm Angie, I'm with the developer. This is John. He'll be presenting, I'm just handing the laptop.
Where's everybody
For now. The party's over.
Is it something he said or didn't?
Well, we're here to introduce the small lot homeownership community that you requested during Brad's prior
We just knew you were gonna ask for it, so that's why we came.
Thank you.
We told Brad we should go first because we paved the way, but my name is John Spelke, this is NGE, we're with Storm Properties. Storm is based in Torrance, and we've been doing business in the LA area for over 85 years. We look for communities that are growing and are getting new investment and are turning the corner. And so we have come to Van Nuys with a small lot subdivision that we feel fits the character of the neighborhood, provides home ownership, through the small lot ordinance. And we believe, it kind of livens up the intersection at Sherman Way and Van Nuys Boulevard. First slide. As I mentioned, Storm's been doing business in the LA area for many years. When we design communities, it revolves around honesty, integrity. We design communities that we ourselves would want to live in. We just don't cram density onto properties. We look for, and a lot of it is the traditional neighborhood development principles: open space, porches, community interaction, walk down the street, gathering spaces, entry statements, and those types of things that are generally part of traditional neighborhood, as well as the small lot subdivision ordinance. We're entrepreneurial. Walter Storm was a serial entrepreneur, and got involved in a lot of businesses, and that has kind of made its way into all of us who work at Storm. And like I said, we work to create livable communities that we ourselves would live in. We also pride ourselves in collaboration. We collaborate with the municipalities, with the community groups, with the neighbors, with the Chamber of Commerce. We're members of the Chamber of Commerce. We seek feedback so that we can be successful all around, and success means we're successful and the community is successful in developing and providing what we're here to provide, which is home ownership and single-family homes. We have 3 current projects going on right now. One's Vista Point in the Athens section of LA. It's County of LA County. Cambridge Place is 32 attached townhomes in Whittier, and McCoy 255 is a single lot subdivision in the city of LA, down in Harbor City, 21 single family homes that we are going to Planning Commission on in the beginning of June. And we work very closely with neighborhood groups, Wilmington and Harbor City neighborhood groups, as well as the neighbors and the surrounding churches, and we have a lot of support, and we believe we'll be successful there. Here are some elevations of the projects. The top one is in Councilman Buscaino's office, which is CD15. We work very closely with the councilman's office to garner support and listen to the community to design the project that we're bringing to the Planning Commission. Vista Point is the project I mentioned in Athens. So the project we're here to present tonight is 14700 Sherman Way in Van Nuys. This is Azalea, the Richmond American Home community here. This is the Foursquare Church, and this is the Masonic Temple. The property is roughly 3.5 acres. The zoning as it sits now is a split zone between R3 up front along Sherman Way and R1 back behind the R3. Currently, as entitled by right, the by right density could be 72 homes. What we're proposing is a 58 unit home, single family, small lot, detached community. The zoning that we're requesting would require a general plan amendment, and we'd look for a general plan amendment, a zone change. Will be designed into the small lot ordinance, and we'll be seeking the removal of the 45-foot building line setback. When completed, the zoning for the medium density 2 will be consistent with the current zoning, which will bring it around, which will buffer between the commercial and the R1 in the back, and connect with the medium density 2 here. So it's very logical to rezone the property in what we're asking. Again, the small lot ordinance allows fee simple ownership for single family small lot homes. We've got 3 house plans by having the versatility in the site plan to provide 3 different house plans. As I mentioned, this will provide a great buffer with, and I'll explain in the site plan in a minute, the 3-story homes here up front, 2-story, which will then buffer the commercial from the R1 and will lead nicely into the R1 neighborhood. It will continue the low to medium land use along Sherman, and provides for a cohesive land plan. The original site plan, which is one we met Jerry and Carino at the site with, was 59 lots, and this is what was presented. We thank you very much for meeting us there. We listened, we went back, talked to our architect. He got to stay till 10 o'clock at night and revised the site plan so we could come here today to present this site plan. Okay, this is a 58 lot site plan, and it basically incorporates the one house that was here, basically creates a central open space public meeting area for the residents. It's a self-contained community. You come in off of Sherman Way, you've got an enhanced entryway, you've got landscaping along the front. You come in, you stare right at, you come in, you see, stare, you look right at the park, where there'll be a tot lot, park bench, picnic table for people to congregate. There are 58 single-family small lot homes. The 3 stories are these two rows, which are consistent with the existing zoning, which is the R3 zoning. So we have 3-story homes that are set back 5 feet apart, as opposed to the small lot ordinance, which allows you to go 6 inches. So 3-story up front, 2-story out back, and adjacent to this to the R1 existing neighborhood, with the backyards lining up to their backyards and these backyards lining up. We have a common park with a tot lot. We've got private. One of the major benefits of this community is the size of the private open space or the rear yards. It really is a nice buffer or a nice transition to the R1 community. To have private backyards for people, for the kids, for to barbecue and to congregate, and those backyards range anywhere from 450 square feet to over 600, and these in fact probably are around 700 or 800 square feet in the back. I mentioned the enhanced entryway in Sherman Way. As you know now, it's a vacant lot. It's got graffiti on the Richmond American sign. It's not very sightly. We will be dedicating 10 feet, improving the sidewalk, putting in street trees, creating an entryway into the neighborhood. We have a curved linear street, which is one of the principles of the small lot ordinance and some of the design elements with the city. We've got the 10-foot dedication along Sherman Way, which I mentioned. 2 other very important features that we'll be doing off-site are the improvement of the Natick and Nadia Way knuckle, as we call it, this intersection. If you know this area, this Nadia Way currently is a dead-end street, and if you Google map it, you look down and there's people drinking beer and standing on that street. There's an RV parked there every time we go out there. It's very unsightly. So the plan here is to vacate, similar to what Brad's doing on the other project, is to vacate a Nadia Way, improve this knuckle so the Nadia Way, Natick and Nadia Way go around, give a portion of a Nadia Way to this house so that they can access their driveway. So that gray area is the new driveway for the house. And then we will pick up the remaining portion of a Nadia Way into the project, which will then create these oversized backyards. So that is number 1, and I'll get into the community reaction here on the folks we talked to. Over here on Galt and Cedros, we're doing the same thing. We're not vacating, but we're dedicating a portion of the property and then improving that knuckle so that, if you know it now, it'll be improved all the way around. And then the IMT development, I'm sure, will be improving their portion down here. So overall, the adjacent neighbors are getting an improved area here, an improved area here. In terms of who we've approached, the Church of the Cellar owns this property here. There's one, other than that property, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other groups or homes that abut the property. We've approached and tried to reach all 6. We've successfully reached 3. Those 3 are this house, and this house, and this house are supportive of the project. The other 3, we have knocked on doors and left messages and have been unable to get in contact with them, but we have made the attempt and we will continue to make the attempt to do so. In terms of the concerns, really these folks were concerned with the neighborhood kind of coming out and having an ingress egress either here or here. In this project.
You said
here-
egress or access?
Well, access, ingress, egress, access point,
Either
either
or.
here or here. And as you can see with this project, and it's been, the fire department has approved all the lengths of the streets. We only need one point of ingress, egress. And so these neighbors, once we told them what we were doing here, were absolutely, they were, I don't want to say overjoyed, but they were very happy that we will be, not coming through their streets. So, I think the main points of what we're trying to do here is, we're improving Anadia Way and the Galt intersection. We're cleaning up what we would consider a blighted section of road. Per the residents' concern, we're bringing in new quality residential homes, which could be considered affordable. And we're building at a lower density than we are by right. So, we believe strongly that this is a major plus and positive to this section of Sherman Way for Van Nuys.
I commend you for reaching out to the neighbors. That's the best part. And I love the fact that you have the large backyards. I love the project. I can't say anything bad about it.
Thank you.
What's the estimated cost on the 3-story versus the 2-story?
The sales prices?
Please.
The market will set the price, but, we're looking in the high 4s, low 5s, roughly for, the 3 stories up front are going to be almost 2,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be running, low 5s, 520 to 530.
Okay.
And then the 2 stories will range anywhere from 495 to low 5s.
And guest parking?
14 guest parking spaces. There's some here, and there's some here, and
And there's some along, when you enter, there's gonna be some parallel parking.
right along.
So another thing to note too is along this street that comes down, there's actually gonna be like a sidewalk and also landscaping. So what we're trying to do is really a self-contained community, a community within a community where we want to, as best as we can, mirror the single-family vibe within this project. So with the sidewalks, driveways, garages, people can pull into the garage and then just, go into their home. So again, you had mentioned higher density, CPAC in other projects, and that's one thing that we really stay away from, not only with this project, but in all our projects too. And like John mentioned, we want to, and it's something that the stakeholders of our company are really big on, is a long-term project that we can be very proud of. Later down the line, we can look back, people are enjoying, where they're living, and they can take pride in, their home that they own too.
Yeah.
That's really important.
What kind of material are you using for like the sidewalks and the hardscape? Are you using water permeable, and what kind of sustainable materials are you using? Like, are you looking at native and drought tolerance, and what type of sustainable practices are you practicing on this
We
project?
would consider, water tolerant, drought resistant landscaping in terms of the materials of the homes. That has yet to be determined.
We're still very preliminary right now, so that's something.
So
that
if you look at page 28 of the Small Light Design Guide, section 5, landscaping, you don't have to think, it's all done for you. What about like gray water systems? One of the problems with old houses is if you want to do the gray water system is that the pipes have been, cemented over, and it's very labor intensive and costly for people that want to. So what kind of building can you do to facilitate gray water and irrigation?
There's a reclaimed water line that actually is in Sherman Way that we will tap into for the landscaping. Each house will be treating their own rainwater runoff into cisterns, and will be using
Great.
it on their property.
That's great.
There's a central, right down here, a central biofiltration, which will take the surface runoff and treat it here and either percolate it or run it into the sewer, which will hit up there.
That's great. And then what about your rooftop? Can you allow for rooftop green roofs and green walls?
It's a
we
pitch
will-
roof. Is it?
They're pitch roofs, but we'll consider sustainable type construction when we get to that point.
I'm assuming 2-car garages and driveway parking?
No driveway parking at this point. If you were to do driveway parking, you would have to shift the homes back a little, but at this point it's 2-car garages
Okay.
and not a lot of room to put a car in front.
I got you, okay.
Also, I want to add too is that I also, sort of look at the condition of the area, like try to preserve as much trees as you can as far as, and there's one valley oak tree that I think the architect took account of it and made the adjustment as well.
We had an arborist look at the site and categorize the trees, and so we will work with the city on the tree situation.
Any questions?
Yes, could you just repeat what you said about improving an idea way and that you're going to vacate that? And well, just do that again for me,
Certainly.
please.
So right now, Anadia Way is a dead-end street which goes right to about here. We are proposing, what will happen is we will vacate the portion of the street here. Well, we'll vacate the entire piece. We will give from here down to this residence here, and they'll use it as their driveway, and we will pick up the remaining portion of the street here and consume it into the backyards. So the street will go right-of-way, the right-of-way will go away, it will be consumed into this house from here and our property here, and then the Anadia Way turn will be improved with parkway, sidewalk, and street trees.
As far as the wall on Anadia Way, is that going to be, what kind of fencing is going to be?
This would be a 6-foot perimeter masonry wall around the outside of the property.
And would there be any lighting, street lighting on Natick and Anadia Way?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say right now where the streetlights are, but, and I'm not sure our engineering plan has us installing streetlights, but clearly when we work with Public Works, we will do whatever they had asked. In our deal, our project in Whittier, we are doing just that. We're widening the road, we're putting up streetlights to kind of brighten up the street, so we'll work with Public Works for that.
Okay, and you guys are asking for support?
Yes.
I have one more question. I'm assuming you all are going by the low impact development guidelines. That's already probably a given. I just don't want to assume.
I think so. I don't want to assume also.
Okay, can someone follow up with me and let me know? Because my vote will be contingent
Certainly.
on your applicant. I mean, most are, but like we talked earlier, the city has not been consistent in